Amitosh Gautam for a very brief introduction to the National Productivity Council.
So thank you. I welcome all the participants in today's webinar, which is on a very important topic on demand side management, especially if you consider a few of the new technologies which are coming up. And the summer seasons have started in India, and you see that a lot of energy goes into HVAC systems for air conditioning purpose. So we have invited our speaker, Mr. Norbert Vasen, who is right now based in Switzerland. And as an EU expert on energy efficiency, we have requested him to discuss more about the best available technology, especially focusing on the direct drive motors as a replacement for ventilation with the belt drive. Because this is the area of coupling where we see that most of the energies are going in the motor section, especially when we do the electrical energy audit. So it is worthwhile to understand that how energy conservation can be done in the direct drive motor system. Mr. Vasen has been kind enough to give his very valuable time to us. He is the CEO of Bird's Eye Consulting and an acclaimed expert in this field. So with this brief introduction about the topic, I would also like to appraise our audience regarding the webinars that are conducted by National Productivity Council. So every day on certain topics, we are taking up webinars all over the country from different offices. So you can always visit the website of National Productivity Council and choose the webinar which you wanted to hear. If you are listening it live, you have the opportunity to interact with our expert faculty members. But if you have time, you can always visit the 99 webinar section and you can listen to the talks later on. We also have this channel where some of the videos are placed. For example, there is the videos will be placed on YouTube, which you can listen to it in your free time. So NBC is doing a lot of activities in terms of consulting and training. This is the part of training activities. Due to pandemic, we are not organizing many programs in person, but at least we were able to connect you with the experts from different parts of the world and with different expertise. So that's a brief what we are doing for improving the productivity of industries. And with this, I would like to invite our speaker, Mr. Norbert Vasen, CEO of Bird's Eye Consulting from Switzerland. Kindly start with the presentation. I welcome you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I hope that you all hear me well, and so that also with the internet connection, everything is all right. I think that's true, isn't it? And you see also my screen, isn't it?
Yes, sir, you're audible and we can see your screen clearly.
Okay, so let's now start with demand side management and in combination with chillers. That's the first of the best available technology. And yeah, well, I want also to emphasize here how we should store energy, not only in batteries, but maybe better in directly in the ice storage. Okay, then we will have here a quick overview of the situation of the presentation. We talk first about the situation in India and how this asks for demand side management. Then we will see where and how we store the energy. And then we will see a simulation of the ice storage. And then I propose two things which will make it even better. So then we have practically three BATs, best available technologies together. And then I would make a proposal how this could work in India. Okay, let's see now the situation in India. We know there is a lot of renewable energy in India, and it is mostly solar and wind. And these are volatile resources. And that is a little bit problem if you compare it with power plants, which are easier to control. So that's one point. The second point is that in India, there is, of course, a huge electrical grid. But it's not in all places, and there's also somewhere problems with weak grids that the demand is growing, and there are problems with the stability. And that is in some way also a good point, because it's a good point to decide. So, for example, if you have, like in Europe, you have a strong grid and with a huge investment in it and capital. But in India, we are still on a point that we can decide, do we make this heavy investment or do we choose for a more flexible approach? So that is an opportunity. And then another thing, which I think, I don't know how much, but I think that tens of percent, maybe 30 or maybe 40% of all the electricity of India goes in cooling, especially in hot seasons. That a big part of electricity is just converted in cold power. Another issue is that I have the impression that India likes electricity and focuses on electrification, so that the electricity has a more important part in the energy mix. Okay, so let's see about DSM, demand side management. I don't know if everybody of you knows what demand side management is. It is practically that instead of that the supplier has the whole responsibility to adapt to the market demand, that now also the consumer adapts him or herself and to be more flexible. So you see here, for example, in 24 hours, you see here the power, you see here the power curve of a factory, let's say, and then you see at 11 o'clock, we have a critical demand. And so what we could do is we say, okay, let's switch off the chiller, we do it later. And then we avoid this peak. If you have this flexibility, if you don't have, you can also store it in some way. You load it when there's less demand, and then you can add this power in the moment that you need it. And this is a must. Everybody knows that DSM is connected with the must, because otherwise the grid will be loaded very much and then we end up in a blackout. But we must also remember that DSM, demand side management, can be an opportunity, and we can use that to protect ourselves and also to save money. So DSM is an opportunity to protect and to save money, and we will see that later. First, we will talk about technology of storage. So now everybody is talking about storing electricity in batteries. So then the business model would be, you take this battery, you supply electricity to the chiller, and the chiller is working. But what you can also do, you can charge directly an ice storage or water storage, but we are talking now about ice storage. In this way, you have another kind of storage principle, which has the problem that you have only cold, so you cannot switch on the lights with this energy here. Another problem that is that it is less known, so it's more difficult to convince a decision maker to rely on this storage. But the advantages are huge. You have a better round trip efficiency, and that means charge-discharge cycle. It costs also less. It was very difficult to get the information from the suppliers, but I have the idea that it is between 5 and 10, and now 5 and 8 times cheaper, as cheap as electrical storage per kilowatt hour. It's also dangerous because electricity is very concentrated and you can have fires and also short circuits. Another thing which is very important is if you store electricity, then you still need to dimension your chiller on a peak demand. And if you have an ice storage, you can have a smaller chiller, and then you have less capital in the chiller. The only thing is that, of course, this ice storage must be able to meet the peak demand. But anyway, this big chiller is a lot of capital, and it is like a bottleneck in the whole system. Let's now see the simulation of an ice storage. We see here on the axis kilowatts, so power, but we see also energy in kilowatt hour. That is because if we see the demand, which is this blue one, and the red one, the chiller power, the cold power from the chiller, that is in kilowatts, and the state of charge of the ice storage is measured in kilowatt hour. Okay, so you see here that the chiller is working rather continuously. You see that demand is going up even above the power of the chiller in the afternoon. And the state of charge, the ice storage is charging here. And how can I explain you that we have these opportunities? That's the protection and the saving of the money. Well, you see it here. If, for example, the chiller will break down or there's a blackout in this moment, you will understand that there's enough energy in the ice storage to meet this demand. So that's your protection. And from the economic side of view, you can see that this chiller is working in the time that the tariff is low. And I understand that in India, the evening hours are more expensive. I'm not sure, but I saw it somewhere on the internet. So I switch it off, the chiller. So that means you save money here, and also here it is below the demand. So you are saving money here. And in this way, I show you that this ice storage is giving us all the opportunities which I described. Okay, now I will talk about these other ways to make it still better. We have here dynamic pricing of energy, and what does it mean? Well, you see here that in normal cases we have a block tariff, and then we have during different times of the day, we have at fixed times that you switch from one tariff to the other tariff. With dynamic pricing, you have, let's say, every quarter of an hour or even every hour, you have another tariff. And it's not all the days the same. What they didn't depict well in this agency, they didn't depict well that the low tariffs here can be much lower than here. So, for example, if we have here 10 cents, dollar cents per kilowatt hour, like in Switzerland or in the United States, then you could have here a couple of hours that you are really at 1 cent or 2 cents. So really a big discount on your electricity price, and then you can use that time to charge your ice storage. Okay, so here we have the advantages that you have more savings, and the incentive is more precise with more time resolution. It's better for the grid and also better for India. Here we see a technology. It's an internal combustion engine, and you put it on the chiller instead of the electric motor. And the heat from the motor you will put in an absorption chiller, and then you have two chillers, and you use all the energy in the fuel. And I checked with also with an Indian participant who is making chillers. They said there's nothing against this solution, but I didn't see it around. So it is something I think is rather new. Okay, the problems are, of course, that you have emissions and vibrations, and you have noise, and you have also a little bit more maintenance, but you have a better efficiency. And maybe the fuels are less scarce in summer when electricity is more scarce, and it's also against blackout, because when the fuel is there, you have also cold, and even you might put also on this engine a small electricity generator to have electricity also during blackout. Okay, now next steps would be that you would use these three things: ice storage, dynamic pricing, and the engine in some experimental project. And then it would be good to use clients which have a really essential, where cold supply, guarantee of supply of cold is essential. Hotels, hospitals, and food distribution, because food distribution there, it will be a huge damage if the food goes bad. And you start with a pilot project with these kind of clients, and if it goes well, you can find plenty of other hotels and hospitals and food distribution in India. It's just for my side a proposal that you can see if this technology, if this BAT could be applied in India. Okay, now the conclusion, we will see later how you get to me, and I want only now to say that the ice storage simulation is on my newsletter. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, as I will explain later, then you will have this ice storage. Now we go quickly to the next BAT, and it is about the direct drive ventilation. So what we have here, you have the old technology with the motor, belt drive, and the fan. And on the other side, today I propose a monoblock fan with direct drive of the fan and coupling with the motor. Okay, now we go quickly because I'm a little bit behind. We will have an introduction, a story from Sweden, a comparison between old and new. I talk about retrofit. I talk about collateral benefits, which are important, and then a financial calculation, again, a spreadsheet, and then a conclusion again. So let's see what's happening. We see with many BAT, best available technologies, that they are already in the laboratories, but they delay to come into everyday life into our factories. And ventilation is one of these delayed items. And I think that also in India, much energy is wasted, as also here. And the question again could be, how much of the Indian electrical energy is going somewhere in the industry to move air? So now let's look a story from Sweden. There's between Stockholm and Göteborg, there's a very big hospital. And they had a big problem because the main ventilator was broken. And it was the only ventilator because it was central. And it was also very big. And it was impossible to break all the ceilings and the walls because this ventilator was so big. So what did they do? They took these monoblock ventilators, they took 15 of them, and they put them all in an array, and it was very easy to bring it inside the hospital. The old fan was cut in pieces and brought outside. And here you see a big blowing wall, which is a replacement, and it has a better performance, even if it takes less energy. So now we compare the old with the new. Here we have the system, the old system, and you see here that the air is inside going to the filters. You have here the motor, the belt, and the fan, and it takes a lot of place, and the air must always go into the opposite side. Here you have the new system, and you have here the filters again, and you have this monoblock here. In this case, there's only one. And you have also the advantage that you have here not relying on velocity of air, which is blown into an air duct, but it's more like a pressure chamber. And you can also put the ducts from the other side of the other walls. That's big flexibility. You have also here more space to put, for example, better heat exchanger or better filters. So you have all these advantages. Now we will look to the comparison of losses. In the case of the old system, you have all these components which has to be purchased and put together and designed by the designer, and they are not optimally made one for each other. So you lose energy in the variable speed drive in the motor, the belt, the fan, and also the flow inside. With electronically commuted motor, plug fan, you have also 100% electricity. You have less losses because every component is designed in a monoblock for each other. You don't have a belt. So you have at the end, you have 57% as an example at the end in the airflow. So that is 1/3 more in comparison with this 43%. Something different, which you don't have to forget. This is about saving in the components, but there's also the demand controlled ventilation. That is something which is applicable for the old configuration, but also for the new configuration. So this is something where you save much money. You have to apply it if you have an old or a new system. Okay, now we go to the retrofit. In the Indian case, now in a Swedish case, it was an urgency, but in normal case, you should look ahead and you should consider if maybe your old system, even if it's not still broken down, that you replace it already today, because it can be an opportunity to save much money, even if you have to discard a system which is still working. And as I said before, you put all these things, these monoblocks together, you put it inside this box, and you save a lot of space. And it's not difficult. I'm not on time, so I will, this is an efficiency curve. I will not talk about it. I will just talk about the collateral benefits. Collateral benefits are very important for each best available technologies, because if you talk only about money, then you miss the story, and it's still difficult to convince many decision makers if you talk only about the money which you save on the energy bill. You have to talk also about other benefits which are appealing to the decision maker, and sometimes they are even more important to have your proposal approved. So we talked already about these things, about that everything is in a box. Very quickly, the advantages are that you have less vibration and noise, you have less maintenance, you have less chance of failure, you have less energy use, and you have more safety, and you have more flexibility of control because there's an electronic interface. And of course, you can also do demand side management here. Okay, now very quickly a financial calculation. We have here an old system with a lifetime of 20 years, and we propose to put it to replace it. What you have then, you have a residual value of $3,000 on the 20,000. You have a consumption of 10 kilowatts, and you pay as an energy cost per year 7,500. In a new system, you have a system which is a little bit more expensive, but you have less consumption, and that means that you save money. Per year, this is $2,500. And if you want to replace it now, then you have a net investment of this difference, 22,000 and 20,000, plus the residual value of the old system, which you discard, so you are at 5,000. And now I want to say you what I teach to my students. I don't like payback time. I don't like return on investment. I like total lifetime cost. So that means I use also the discount value per year. And that's based on the fact that you like more one bird in the eye than two in the bushes. And that means that if you have a savings cash flow in the future, you have to discount that with a conservative 10% per year. And that means that in this case, these savings here, in 20 years, I don't take 50K, I take only 20K. But if I compare this 20,000 with my net investment, then I have in today's dollars, I have savings to investment ratio of 4. So this is really like a money machine. You put 1 rupee inside and 4 rupees fall outside. Okay, so that is about a financial picture. And now I will go quickly to the general BAT, and then we go more into the legal side. So we are here on the best available technologies in general, and we talk about the European directive on operating permits for the industry. We are talking about reference documents of the BAT, shortly BREF, BAT reference for several sectors. And then we go to a quite different thematic about energy efficiency indicators for 38 countries. We will see that later. So what is this European directive? You know, everybody knows the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. They gave a message, and the European Commission took this message and they said, we will give permits to the industry if they can go on working, and it depends on what their performance is. And the member states, they will have the freedom to implement these directives in the member states and on the industry. Not all the industries, but only the industries that consume more and they pollute more. So this directive is called the 96/91/EC of the European Commission. And they state if an industry may continue to work. And this permit is based on these parameters about consumption, about pollution, and about emission. And how do you define these parameters? How do you define this limit where above they cannot produce anymore? So what you do is you take a factory, for example, a steel factory, and you see what are the best available technologies there. And then you make a simulation and you say, okay, if you put in the steel industry all these best available technologies, then this steel factory will emit so and so much for each kilogram of steel which is produced. And then, of course, you have to also define which are its best available technologies, because otherwise you will not know these parameters and you cannot know if you have to give the permit and to whom. So the European Commission organized all this communication between many experts of all the member states, and they said, okay, for each of these sectors, for the steel industry and for this other industry, we will see this here. You have this best available technologies, and then you have this emission and energy consumption parameters. So in Sevilla is this group, this office, which defines these reference documents. And here you see an example. If you click here, then you will see this whole list. It's a very long list. You see here, for example, ceramic. You see here wastewater treatment, and then very below there is the PVC, so the plastic industry. And then I show here a little piece of it, and then you see all the things that you have to do to have these best available technologies. So here are all these best available technologies, and if you do this, then you will have a very good factory, and then you see also how much they consume and how much they emit. And then in this way you define also these permits. Okay, so this is about definition of these permits and of these parameters which you need to adapt to if you want to continue to produce in Europe. Now we go to from Spain, where this office is, and we go to Paris, and there is the International Energy Agency, and they talk about a whole other thing. It's the energy efficiency parameters in 38 countries. It's the European countries. There are also other countries like Australia, United States, and India is not here. So it is interesting for India to look to all these tables and all these diagrams. For each country, you have 3 or 4 of these pages full of these diagrams, and then you can look where India is in comparison with these other countries. Of course, you have Germany, where there's much coal, and I don't know, maybe also in Australia there's more coal, and like in India, so you can see how you can compare with these countries. Okay, then we come here to the conclusion, and I hope then that we are again back on time. Yes, okay, we are good on time, I think. Okay, we have goal setting in many countries. It's based on some limits which they want to reach in some year. And here what we saw today is that we are based on a goal setting which is based on key performance indicators and also best available technologies. And it could be very interesting for India to look to these best available technologies, to these BREF documents, to these reference documents, and also to these documents which I read to you of the Energy Agency, and to look where you are in this comparison. Okay, so that's something which you can do, and I don't know, maybe it's already done in India, but it will in any way be interesting, and it will give you control with a high resolution what to do and where to do it. Another thing which I want to say is that I have a newsletter with every week a highlight on some best available technology. And it's a newsletter which will come out for the second time on Wednesday. And then I will put also these tables with these simulations of the spreadsheet which you saw before. And then I want also to say my opinion, because I will talk later about my program for what I do on my blogs, on my newsletter. My opinion is that the energy manager is essential for the energy transition in the industry. And I think that because the industry has a lot of different situations, and every energy efficiency situation in every industry is different. And that means it is really something that you need a specialist for each situation, which can maintain the focus on the best available technologies. And the energy manager is better able than any other person in the industry, in an enterprise, to hunt for opportunities and to analyze the potential results of those opportunities and to propose this potential results in an appealing way to the decision makers. And it must be appealing because today many proposals for energy efficiency are just killed because they are bought not in the right way, not in an appealing way, which resonates with decision makers. And that's something which I learned in a training in the United States, to make this convincing, to make reframing of energy efficiency proposals in a way that the decision makers understand it better. Then the energy manager has a task in realizing and also monitoring so that they can give feedback on the best available technology. Okay, so this was the conclusion. And now, last, I will go to the course which I give. So I have a capacity building program for the energy transition, and in particular on the compact course for energy managers. And let's see what this presentation is about. I will talk about why I do it, what I bring to my audience. I will talk about the blogs, the newsletter, and the course, and then I can come to a conclusion where I will show you the way. So why I do it? It's a lot of effort, and it is because I saw during my 3 decades of experience with energy efficiency and with industry that energy efficiency is very slow developing, and also the International Energy Agency agrees with me, because I saw it in the Outlook, Energy Outlook of 2018, that the energy efficiency results are going down. So, and as I told in the previous presentation, I see the energy manager as the catalyst in the energy transition, and they are the people which can really make it happen, because they are the persons which are already in the company, and they can decide for each situation what there's to be done. And I told already that energy efficiency in factories, in industry, and also other complex consumers like hospitals and shopping centers. It's like in medicine, every situation is different, and you need there really people which are dedicated. And I made a quick calculation, for example, in Switzerland or also in the United States. If you have an enterprise with an energy bill of 500,000 or 1 million, then it's already justified that you can pay the salary of one full-time energy manager. And in India, you have, of course, to remake this calculation. But I think that very good things will happen if there are more energy managers in the world. I have a long experience in education. It's not only about direct education. For example, now I have this evening school in Zurich, the city in Switzerland, and I am teaching to technical employees of industries. But also I worked 30 years with energy projects of the European Commission, and in projects for the divulgation, for the dissemination of innovation. So giving information and teaching several audiences about how energy innovation can be brought and implemented in other situations. And why I am interested in quickly developing countries like India? Because they have more choices open. Because they are doing more investment, they have more development, they have more investments, more new installations to make and to realize. That means they have more choices open, and I could have a contribution which has more value, and that is for me very exciting. So let's see what I bring to my audience. First, what my audience is. They are the technical employees from industry, but also these complex energy consumers like hospitals and energy, centers, shopping centers. And I think that these technical employees are only one step away from being a good energy manager, because they know already their own enterprise and they already know technology. So they are the people which need only a short course, a compact course, in order to be the next energy manager, and then they can learn by doing. It's better to start to learn not too much and to start energy management and then later come back if you need more. I'm also looking to lay off people because we are in a health crisis, but also an economic crisis, and many people don't have work, and they would be very good energy managers, for example, if they are technical people. And as I said, we need a lot of energy managers. So we should also look to this group of people which are really distressed. And then we also look to decision makers. That's also my target group because they make the decision, of course, if they want an energy manager in the enterprise. And then if with some dedicated course I can convince these decision makers that which impact will have an energy manager on their enterprise, then there would be more energy projects in the world, in the industry. And that is good for the energy transition. Now, what do I bring to my audience? I have on my website, I have this link tree, and this link tree contains all the links to my blogs. They are 2 times in a week, and you can find them on several platforms. And there are already many participants in my LinkedIn group from India. And there's also YouTube. Once a week I have also a video blog. I call them blog. And then here above there is the Bird's Eye Energy School, and there's the school newsletter, and there's the training. Here are the courses, and just a moment. And then there is also this other cooperation with the learning platform, and that's an affiliate program, and I will explain that later. So first I want to talk a bit about the blogs and the newsletter. The blogs, they contain short flashes of news and technology, and they are open to everyone. And then there are the newsletters, and they have premium content, for example, the spreadsheets, but also articles which are more contain more about the different issues which I already have in the blogs, but they are only accessible to the subscribers. And there's also a free introductory course, which we will see later. And then finally, there are the courses which I bring to the target audience, which doesn't want to lose time, and they have a clear objective, and they want all the information together to arrive at some point. Okay, so now we are at the courses. I told already about this free course of 2 hours for the subscribers, and then there's this course of 20 hours for the technical employees to make them start as an energy manager. In Europe and the United States, it's $280, but in India and other quickly developing countries, in order to adapt to the purchase power, I have a pricing of $55. And for the first 40 students, I give still a discount of 25%. And so now, with so many courses around on energy management, I want to explain why and why I think that my course has some unique features. I think there are not many courses which really teach the student how to convince the decision makers. Because I told already before that even when I was working at Siemens, and also with the governmental program on energy management in small and medium enterprises in Switzerland. It was all about the money which the energy manager can save on the energy bill. What I put in the foreground is how to convince with arguments which will resonate with the core values of the decision makers, so that they feel much more engaged with what you have to offer, and it will make the chance of approval of your project much greater. And that means that you will have also more joy of working, that you have more satisfaction, and there will be more approved projects, and there will be more better energy transition in the industry. The second point is that with my learning platform, it's really multimedia. It's with videos, it's with e-books, with rich illustrations, it's with exercises, with exams, and also a certificate. And I have also an informal style. And I see with courses which I followed that it's very formal sometimes. And the third point, I have a bird's eye view of the energy management and 360 degrees, and that's necessary because an energy manager is, as a few other professionals, is multidisciplinary, and they have to interface with the whole company, and they have to talk not only about kilowatt hours and about technology and about savings, but they have also to talk about things which really appeal to the colleagues and to the decision makers. And so that means they have also to look and to search for collateral benefits, so that also the colleagues of the safety department and colleagues of the maintenance department, they will be happy. And in this way, also the decision maker will be more appealed. And then finally, there's also the invention. I have a patent pending on technology for the energy audit for quick but very powerful diagnostics, exactly as the electrocardiogram, and therefore I called it also the ECG, but here it is called the energy consumption graph. And it gives a very quick overview of the consumption, not only of the whole factory, but also beyond the factory, downstream the factory. And you can, like with the electrocardiogram, you have several channels where you can connect the most important energy consumers of the factory, like for example compressed air, the lighting, and other things. And then you have much more energy transparency, and the energy audit will be much easier and much more powerful. Finally, I talked already about the savings which you will make because I have an adapted pricing for different regions in the world. But I have also this affiliate marketing. And that means that if and only if you are happy with my course, you can share it with another person which you think they need this course. And then I will give 20% of the tuition fee as a commission. So that's affiliate marketing. It's something which works very well today in the internet world. And okay, and then another feature is that my course is modular, and that means that in my compact course you will not learn too much, and you will not lose time and money, but you will learn what you need. You will then learn by doing, and afterwards, if you need, you can come back to learn more about, for example, some best available technologies, for example, compressed air, about lighting, about heating, about heat recovery, or maybe about financials or another non-technical subject. And then you can come back for other modules which are now in development. Okay, now we come to a conclusion so that we have time for questions. You can invite me on this email address, and the courses are on this address. And here is the website, and on the website I have this tree. And now we will try this. We go to the website, and then you must go on the English side, but we are already there. Then we go to connect with us, and then you come to this tree, and you saw already this social networks with the blogs and the video blog. And here is then the newsletter, how to subscribe. And there you are. You can put the email address, or the date is not requested. And here is the course page, the course overview. There are only now 2 courses, as you saw. Here they are. And then there is this cooperation with the affiliates program. And I work together with LearnWorlds, which is a United States learning platform. And here you see my course again. Here's a preview of the course. And here you go to the course which you saw before. But if, for example, you are interested in teaching yourself something, it can be about energy, it can be about the ISO 9001, but it can be also about something like health issues, or it can be even about meditation or about martial sports. I saw many courses made with this learning platform, and if you click here, then you will participate as my partner, and you will go to this learning platform. And if you become then paying consumer of this platform, then I will get a commission, but you will not pay it. It is the same commission, the same fee as if you go to them without me. But in this way you can support me, and I can also help you then to do the first steps. Even if I must say that the customer support is really very quick and very nice. Okay, so then we are again at the conclusion, and I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that I can welcome you in my newsletter and maybe also in the course. And now I would invite you to the question, because we have still 10 minutes for the questions.
If you have any questions, can you please ask?
Yes, sir. So one of the questions that we had was about retrofitting HVAC units and how that plays into it when it comes to when we consider industries.
I didn't hear it so well. Can you repeat it?
Right, sir. So one of the questions I came across was about retrofitting HVAC units or air conditioning units in industries.
Yes.
How does that serve as a better alternative to replacing that technology or replacing HVAC units when it comes just on the energy efficiency front?
So the question is, if you replace a big central fan with these plug-in fans, how much efficiency gain you have?
Right, sir. Something when we retrofit HVAC units, when we instead of replacing them entirely with more efficient units, would it be better to retrofit them with better technology or at least improve certain aspects of the unit?
Let's go back to this preview open recent. Okay. You will share preview. Okay. There we are. So the question is about this retrofit. If it's better to have another technology, is that true?
Yes, sir. It's about retrofit.
Okay, so you are looking for an alternative to this. Well, maybe there are alternatives, but I think that this is the most simple retrofit of this of an air handling unit. And maybe you are talking about decentralized ventilation. But I think
Right,
that this is already one of the best retrofits which you can make because this is the best of the technologies to retrofit this air handling unit. As you see, for example, here, here's an air handling unit, such a typical box. But if you think about other technologies that you say, for example, let's decentralize it, I can also think of that. There are also these um, um, alternatives, of course.
right, sir.
And of course, you might also have a bigger efficiency if you do that because you lose less air, you lose less energy in the several ducts, and it's also maybe simpler because you don't need place anymore for the ducts.
Right, sir.
Sir, I'd like to build on the question based on retrofitting.
Yes.
Okay, so in one of our visits to some pharmaceutical industry in our locality, we saw that there is a lot of inertia that comes from higher management sometimes when it comes to completely replacing existing air conditioning systems. And
Yes.
it is empirically established that those systems are lossy or inefficient, right? So what is the best solution to first of all propose to them so that they are convinced that such systems need to be outright replaced, and if replacement is out of the question, what are the best practices when it comes to retrofitting them, as Ritvik asked?
Yeah, I think that for a pharmaceutical industry, I don't know if you talk, because they have always three spaces. They have the clean rooms, and then they have the less clean rooms, and then they have the magazines, so the store rooms, where it's not so difficult because everything is already packaged. I think if you talk about let's start with the middle level, so the not so clean rooms. They could start there, and then you are in a more normal environment, which you meet also in other industries, so like, for example, in the food industry. And then they might have less resistance because for the clean room, they are really very afraid that something goes wrong. You are really there in the process. So you should start in the storerooms, so where it's not critical, and then on the second level in the nearly clean rooms, and then you could start there with such a retrofit, and you can talk about there is more air. You will have more air because, like in the Swedish hospital, you had not only better performance, but they also paid less for the consumption. So that means they will pay less, but they have also better products. They have also a still cleaner room than before, and that with less noise, and also with less chance on a breakdown like here, because it is an unit which is comes off the shelves, and it's not something put together by by this designer. It has less chance to break down. And if you go to the pharma, they are very afraid of things breaking down. So you have more reliance. They can rely better on this technology than on old technology. That are all those arguments which can help them to decide. So they are afraid of the things breaking down, and they like quality. That are the two things which interest more to the pharmacy. And there you are. Both these advantages of quality and about risk, you respond them already with this retrofit. And then only after that you talk about savings on the energy bill. That's what they are least interested in, but it's still a benefit. So you have three benefits, and I think you should be able to convince the farm industry, at least starting in the storeroom and then in the let's say the production room. And if they are doing retrofits in that areas, then maybe at the start, at the end, we will also allow you to work in the really clean rooms. I hope that is an answer.
Yes, yes, that was very helpful. I have one more question regarding demand side management that I'd like to present. Uh, you mentioned that DSM is a very good practice when it comes to incentivization, right? As in the incentive value calculation for time of day charges.
Um, you are talking now about dynamic pricing, is it?
I'm sorry?
Uh, I didn't understand well the question. Excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah. I was just building on the question. So my question was, because of renewable energy penetration, there is a lot of intermittency in the system, right? A lot of randomness, so to speak. So
Right.
how do
Right.
demand side management systems tackle these? And if we were to introduce these in, for example, grids in India, there would be a lot of issue, as in people are quite complacent with the current existing DSM systems. And if I were to say that the incentive values are dependent on stuff like weather, it might be difficult to propose this change. So, what are your 2 cents about it?
Okay, I am afraid I didn't understand. So you are talking about demand side management, and then you said, can you say it again, the first part?
For sure,
Because
for sure, for sure. So the question is, with introduction of renewable energy in the system,
yes,
a lot of intermittency is involved, as in randomness. For
yes,
example,
okay,
cloud cover can cause problems, right?
yeah, okay,
So because of that, the demand side calculations can be a little iffy, if I'm not wrong. As in, the incentive values can change quite quickly if there is a lot of uncertainty in the system.
yes.
So, can you elaborate a little on that end, and then I'll follow up with one more question with this.
Well, what I saw in Germany, they always gave a lot of money for energy which is put into the grid by solar and wind energy. And now there was critics on Germany on that because it costs a lot of money to for the government to give all these incentives. And then there was a person, I forgot his name, and he said, we have to make a new proposal. We have to pay for sewer energy. So we have to pay for the energy. But in this price is not only how many kilowatts hour you give to the grid, but also the certainty. And that means that if you have, for example, a solar panel with a storage, an electrical storage, inside it, then you will get more money from the government, from the grid operator, because you are able not only to give electricity to the grid, but to give that energy on the right moment. And you can make and calculate how much rupees you would want to give in addition if a kilowatt hour is given on the right moment. Is that an answer to your question?
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
It makes sense. So I would like to follow up with another question in the same realm. So because of intermittency of renewable energy, the time of day charges can change, right? Because we are trying to manage the demand. So
Yes.
because of this, you can say something like non-uniform billing becomes a thing. As in, if I was a residential consumer and because of the current weather, the pricing today of electricity will be different from some other day, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
That's good because you have a spot market. Yes.
absolutely. So, considering this, the current billing infrastructure in India has a very rigid demand side management system where we have very dedicated blocks of pricing. I believe you showed an infographic over here. Yeah, there is this block like thing where we have a static determination of pricing, and then we have a dynamic interpretation, right? In India,
Yeah.
we have static interpretation as of now. And if we were to move to dynamic, that would require a large amount of infrastructure change, etc.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
how would we pitch this to the current authorities?
Well, I would say to them, you need smart meters. And what you could start with, you do experiments with the big users, because also in Europe, now we have smart meters. For example, in Italy, where I am now, they have smart meters also in the homes. So you can read the meters even if you are in the electricity supply, and then you can download that from the internet. You see what you have consumed every quarter of an hour. And if you do that, if you start with the bigger consumers, and you can start, for example, only in one city or in one village, or maybe in some area in Gujarat where there's much industry, and you just start with one city, and then you install there a smart meter in the biggest consumers, and then you show them how it works and how a dynamic tariff can work. Because in this way, like for example in Switzerland, there is already that you can take a contract with a supplier which has this dynamic tariff, and then you have access as a retail user to the spot market. So then you have 96 tariffs per day. That means every 15 minutes you have another tariff, and every day it's different. And so these industries in such a experimental city in Gujarat, for example, they could start with installing these smart meters, and they would in some way with an intermediate market operator connect with the spot markets or the day-ahead market. And then they would be built on base of these smart meters, and on the base of the energy which they consume on which quarter of an hour. And if you start with that, and you see that the results are very good, and then you can calculate how much these industries save by programming their consumption. And for example, these industries can then take a cold storage or maybe a battery storage, and then they can try just as here in these experimental projects. There can be also hospitals or food distribution, and they all take smart metering. And then they take also this technology, maybe also this engine, and they try and how it works with the dynamic pricing. And then they show it to the world, and they show it to the NPC, and they show it to other hospitals and distribution centers. And then they can say, show it as a good project, and then they can go on to other hospitals, other food distribution. And then if that is working in this city, then they can go on for bigger cities. But I think you will not start with a big city. You will start with a medium city, which is very industrialized, or where maybe there are many hotels, for example, a touristic city, which is not so big. Is that a good answer, or do you want to know?
It is. It is. It really helps, especially the idea of trying experimental or pilot projects with dynamic pricing. That can be really helpful. So yeah, that answers the questions.
Okay, yes.
So with this, these were the questions that we had from our audience. With this, we would like to conclude the event today. And we would really like to thank Mr. Norbert. He has been an amazing speaker. I got to learn a lot today on a personal level, and I'm really helpful to this webinar. And I'm pretty sure all the speakers, all the audience on our end has learned a lot as well. Thank you very much, sir. And it was great having you here.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to work for you, to teach, to tell you this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
And I wish you much luck. I am very, I think there's much to do. There's much work to do. And I think it's great in India. I think maybe you are the only country which has a conservation day, energy conservation day on 13th
Exactly.
December. I think
Yes, sir.
we don't have it in Switzerland. I thank you very much again.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your time.
Very good.
Good day.
You are welcome.